Phone is impossible to turn off. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Development. It is a significant development, a major breakthrough, if true. Kim Jong-un is signaling he is willing to denuclearize North Korea if the U.S. agrees to talks. The surprising news came out of a meeting between the dictator and a South Korean delegation. President Trump reacting today with cautious optimism.
We have come certainly a long way, at least rhetorically, with North Korea. It would be a great thing for the world. It would be a great thing for North Korea. It would be a great thing for the peninsula. But we'll see what happens. We have made progress. There's no question about it.
The president also crediting sanctions as a motivation for North Korea to come to the table.
I think that they are sincere, but I think they're sincere also because the sanctions and what we're doing with respect to North Korea, including, the great help that we've been given from China, and they can do more. I really believe they are sincere. I hope they're sincere. We're going to soon find out.
So the president taking a cautious approach, a little bit skeptical but optimistic. Not everyone feels the same way. John Bolton, former UN ambassador, had this to say.
Look, the only thing North Korea is serious about is getting deliverable nuclear weapons, and by all accounts, they are very close to achieving an objective they've been after for 25 years. So why do they want to talk now? I will bet you $1, just as we're sitting here today, you're going to hear almost immediately the United States has to contribute to the atmosphere. We've got to show good faith. Let's prime the pump, all of which is code talk for make concessions. And if that comes, then I think you can count on this. North Korea will get deliverable nuclear weapons before the end of this year.
So John Bolton basically having some pretty frank talk there, Greg, on North Korea. He's skeptical.
Yeah, and I think it's good to be skeptical. It's good to be skeptical. But even if what North Korea said is baloney, it's actually new baloney. And skepticism should always be where you're from. But what would you rather hear than this? I mean, what would you like if you're actually hearing something positive? Sure, you'd like him to say we're going to end labor camps and we're going to go to a free market system. But in the spectrum of positive shifts, this is actually pretty good, and it is new. They're talking about getting together South Korea for the first time in 10 years. I don't think they've ever talked about denuclearization as part of this plan. If this happened under Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize would have been shipped. Amazon Prime, next day, one-touch delivery, and so I will take. I think I thought Trump's response was pretty reserved and said, look, it could happen, could not happen, but I'll take him at their word for now, see what happens. But we all know Bolton is down the line. He's very consistent on this stuff.
Yeah,
just like
years.
That's why he won't shave that mustache.
And the president, I think, rightly saying, Jesse, that one of the reasons you have this new development, no matter how it turns out, is because the sanctions are starting to have an effect.
Right. Rocket Man's crazy, and he's very slick, so this could just be a ploy for a cash infusion. But at the same time, it's a positive development, as Greg said. Where are the Democrats? Because the Democrats have been saying that all this tough talk would lead to war, and all we need to do is sit down at the table and have negotiations and diplomacy. Well, Trump has now gotten us to the point of potential diplomacy and talks. I don't hear anything from the Democrats. The Democrats will never give anybody credit, especially Donald Trump, when something happens positive for the American people. And this is, I think both parties are responsible for this. Pelosi, they call the tax cuts crumbs. Harry Reid wouldn't even admit that the surge worked. There were Republicans that wouldn't give Obama credit for killing bin Laden. I get that. But the media said that this would lead to war, the fire and fury, and all these war games. So the media should be completely discredited because it led to the opposite. And it's because they don't report cause and effect. President Trump says some things, and all of a sudden border crossings are down, or NATO countries are ponying up money, ISIS is decimated. These were the results of Trump rhetoric, actions, and policy, but the media won't tell you the whole story. They're only reporting things in isolation because they're just dishonest.
I haven't heard the Democrats say anything, but Juan, they haven't
Give them time.
Meaning that they haven't said anything positive or negative. It seems like it's been pretty quiet, although it just did happen today.
Well, I
don't know what their hot takes are.
I listen to Jesse so closely. So here's what I have to say to you, audience.
Doesn't seem like it.
If it snows,
mesmerized.
if it snows in Boston or New York City in the next 2 days, Donald Trump is right about global warming. That will be the proof. So Jesse, let me just
not
say,
Al Gore, though.
when he is talking about my button's bigger than your button,
Yep.
and you will get devastated, we will wipe you off there. When you are talking that way to someone who we agree is a bit of a nutcase, right? Kim Jong-un. Americans are right to worry. Why is our president engaging at that level with someone who is impetuous and also
So where
dangerous?
did that bring us to now?
It
Juan?
has brought us
historic
nowhere.
negotiations.
No, it's not. That's
We're
the
seeing
second
for the
thing.
first time.
Can I finish?
That
I
the
let
North
you
Korean
talk.
leaders now going to go to the
Jesse,
south. It's never
Jesse,
happened before.
This has nothing to do with Donald Trump's rhetoric. The better case to be made is it has something to do with sanctions and the effect we've had in trying to get China and others, including Russia, reluctantly, to
So you'll
somehow
give him
impinge
credit for
on
good
support.
diplomacy,
But
then.
that's not him. This is a result, and the administration has said as much. They didn't like the idea of the two Koreas marching together at the Olympics. They didn't like the idea of President Moon of South Korea engaging in talks independently, potentially undercutting U.S. efforts to put pressure on North Korea. And now you get a result of the South
I
Korean
think
North
Obama
Korean
deserves
talks.
credit. Let's give credit to
I'm
Obama.
just saying, don't sit here and say, oh,
I
it's
would just
all
say-
of the
let me
result
get
of what
Kimberly in
President
because
Trump did.
it's not without possible concerns, right?
Sure.
There are several things happening. For example, we don't have an ambassador in South Korea. We don't have
An assistant secretary for Asian affairs.
Thank you. That's true.
Oh my
And
God,
then
what
the
will we
general
do?
change. But-
I was just thinking, we don't have one of those.
Well, my point is that you have an opportunity for diplomacy here, and so the Trump administration would want to have reinforcements there, especially if one of the goals of North Korea is to split off South Korea from its strong alliance with the United States. That was what I was trying to say.
Yeah, well, and well stated.
Thank you,
So I
Kimberly.
think this is something very positive that, really the Democrats, Republicans, independents, undecideds, whatever you are, unregistered, I don't know. You would be happy about this because why wouldn't you want to have an attempt at least at thoughtful, consistent negotiations to try to work on eliminating, reducing the threat of nuclear war? If they're willing to come to the table and they are sincere and earnest, and we will give it a very discerning eye indeed, as Ambassador Bolton had said, why not sit at the table with them, make that effort, make that attempt? If the president didn't put out a tweet like this, you would see the liberals, the Dems going screaming.
Yeah, why aren't you giving peace a
crazy
chance?
town to say, yeah, give peace a chance. You just are trigger happy.
true.
You want to put your finger on the button. It's crazy. If he said and said, Little Rocket Man says he wants to negotiate, doubt it.
And I like how they do this ever since on North Korea, since the beginning of the administration. There's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. And let me read to you, Greg, what Rex Tillerson said today.
I love Rex.
Which is that North Korea threatens the entire global community through its unlawful nuclear and ballistic missiles, blah, blah, blah. It must be a global effort. Basically, he's the heavy.
Yes, the thing is, and it was part of the kind of like the whole idea of what Trump was talking about with ISIS and stuff. Unpredictability. It's kind of nice when America is the, quote, crazy person on the block. All the time, we've been the person that the crazy person says death to America. Now we're the unpredictable person. And the unpredictability actually reset the table with North Korea and has reset the table in other areas as well. If you look in certain things, like even with immigration, like we don't know what's coming and things change because of that. But I disagree. I don't think that Kim Jong-un is crazy. I think he's a rational actor, and this is what he's doing to make sure that he survives, because I think I think he's figuring out that this is going into a different phase. And when he says something like, we will denuclearize if we feel that you guys aren't going to nuke us, and if you feel that's actually a rational statement. Like Bolton says, though, he could be lying. But the thing is, to Jesse's point, which is true, and to Kimberly's, you don't have to like Donald Trump to admit now and then that progress is made. No, none of your friends are going to think less of you because you can't admit that he actually did something pretty good. Problem is, he's done 5 pretty good things this year.
Yeah, like what?
Take them off.
Let's go. All right, you want to start with ISIS?
Yeah.
You want to start with ISIS? You want to start with the tax cuts? You want to talk with
This
North
is
Korea?
all-
Oh, now you don't want to hear the 5?
No, I'll give it to you,
Today
but
on
I'm
the
just saying
5.
to you.
No 5.
What John Bolton
Oh, 5.
says has real significance.
I
There's been
agree.
25 years
This is
of the
arguing
North
on
Koreans
side.
making what looks like, oh, let's have some talks. We'll
agree.
pull our reactors.
That's
and then
all
they
fair.
do nothing.
I know,
Wait, a
that's-
month ago, Juan wanted talks above everything else.
I
Now,
did.
when they want to talk, Juan says, don't
No,
trust them.
I
Welcome
didn't
to
say, I didn't
hypocrisy
say don't
Come on,
Island.
talk.
Juan.
Yes.
Listen.
Did I say don't talk?
The president doesn't trust them. Also, he said we're ready to go hard either way if they try to play, slippery with us. But here's the deal: they duped Bush, they duped Carter. I think Trump's going in there with wide and clear eyes. And if they try to wiggle out of this, or if this is just a handout attempt, then he's going to get out of there. That's rational. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, to me, the important thing is here to protect American interest in that region. And I think that's
So
going
what
to
do
be
you
very difficult.
suggest?
But I don't think that he, which is what you argued, caused this meeting.
Okay, maybe Rex Tillerson did it all, Juan.
Okay.
Who's part of the Trump administration?
No,
There you go.
He was joking. He's joking. It's not Rex, it's the South Korean president.
Oh,
Well,
yes,
we
it's
have
Moon.
beaten this horse to death. But we'll have more
that's
for
a
you.
bit
If you've
cruel.
never heard of Sam Nunberg before, I'll bet you know his name now. The wild media circus over the ex-Trump aide. Next.
Last night, a low-level former Trump aide was all over the networks, acting erratic, angry, armed with little real information. Still, the media ate it up.
I'm not going to cooperate. What do I have to spend 80 hours going over my emails? I think it would be funny if they arrested me. By the way, I think my lawyer's going to dump me. What do you think Mueller's going to do to me?
I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Trump may have very well done something during the election with the Russians. And if we find it out, if he did that, I don't know.
Talking to you, I have smelled alcohol on your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
Anything else?
No.
No.
No. Besides my meds,
Okay.
antidepressants, is that okay?
That's not good.
MSNBC called this whole thing historic, but for everyone else, it felt kind of sad and odd. It reminds me of the footage we run when someone freaks out on an airplane flight. We air it because it's so much fun to watch. Or when someone loses their temper in a store and shouting at a clerk, we air that tape because it's so much fun to watch. Just like high school, when a fight breaks out, we'd all crowd around to watch because it's so much fun. Thanks to the plethora of cameras, a person among 300 million having a really bad day becomes a delightful segment. And it's obvious here. When it comes to news, we've lost perspective. In overdrive to fill the daily recommended allowance of anti-Trumpism, everything becomes a banner headline, including some poor guy acting manic on air, either caused by drug side effects, booze, or Roger Stone's advice. Hard to tell the difference at times. One newscaster accused Nunberg of drinking just there. Well, if you smelled the booze on him, why'd you have him on? Were the optics just too good, or was it because you knew the guy was going to dump all over Trump? The bottom line, we all love a good meltdown, real or contrived, until it's us doing the melting down. Then we hope to God there isn't a camera nearby, because if there is, all compassion goes out the window. Dan, it's hard to tell, because I think, is this a publicity stunt, or was he really messed up? Was this a Roger Stone production?
Well, I know that he's always been a big admirer of Roger Stone and something that's like a prank and something outrageous. But I don't know. I've never met Sam. I think that once you see somebody do an interview with one reporter and then basically dialing around to find out who else will have me tonight.
Yeah.
And CNN, Jake Tapper had already done a long phone interview with him.
Yeah.
The news had been made. And I really just think it's inappropriate to ask somebody about their, if they think, even if you do think they're drunk.
Yeah.
I think the better thing to do, I hope that if I were in that situation, I would say, we're going to go to commercial break, we'll be right back, and then get him off the set, because it's just unnecessary. He'd already been on air for 5 hours. I do wonder if we were given the opportunity to talk to John Doe of the State Department during the Obama administration, who had a lot of information about Benghazi.
Yeah.
I can imagine that it's tempting, and I can't say what would have happened. Obviously, that's hypothetical. This guy is going to have to end up talking to the grand jury. He's already met with Mueller informally.
Yeah.
And so he's just going to have to go and do it. And I don't know if this was also partly to sort of make him look like he's maybe out of his mind.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can't have that testimony as admissible. if he's not of right mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank God nobody asked me if I was drinking on the show. Oh, my goodness. Kimberly.
We're going to go to
obvious.
commercial break.
It's obvious.
No one needs to ask the obvious question.
Yes. What do you make of this whole bit?
A lot. So I
lot.
just think it's sort of rich that CNN, that she's going after him. Because how many times, Jesse, it's your favorite subject about how everybody goes New Year's Eve is like drinking on the air.
Oh, that's true.
Lemon.
No, it's hilarious. So it's like, are you? I'm like, okay, well, you guys ought to know. So the funny part is like the
Great
irony.
point.
I'm telling you, I'm full of them, full of great points. So that
Great
I
point,
thought was
Journal.
ironic, correct. And also, I think that the fact that she would do that, I just think it's unseemly. Why would you do that? You know, it seems almost like politics or personal destruction. You've had the guy on there. He's agreed to come on your show. Like, who are you to try and sit in judgment and do it? Like a diagnosis of him or examine him
It's like
you're a
intervention.
drug recognition expert, or you're like pulling him over on the side of the road and doing a DUI test. Like, I don't. What is that? To try to like shame or humiliate? If you have genuine, serious questions to ask, pause at the question, let him answer them, and then ask a follow-up question. That's journalism.
Jesse, they wanted him on because they assumed he would slam Trump. It didn't really matter, right? I mean, that was the...
Yeah, I mean, listen, Trump hires the best people. That's clear. And we also know, we remember what the full Ginsburg is. You go on 5 shows. This is the full Nunberg. You go on 5 shows drunk. Yeah. And listen, I don't blame CNN, actually, or MSNBC, because this guy just gotten subpoenaed, and it's kind of a big story. And I'd get drunk if I got subpoenaed by Mueller, too. I get that. They're slumming it a little
Check
bit.
your mail, Jesse.
It's sleazy. Cable news is sleazy sometimes. If it bleeds, it leads. This guy was a wounded animal. Put him on. There's 24 hours to fill. What I don't like is the network news, what they did. They went down into the gutter and took this guy, what he said in the afternoon, and by 6:30 it was completely discredited. And they took that on and they made that the lead. Even though the guy contradicted himself and discredited himself so egregiously. He said Trump colluded, then he didn't collude. Said Carter Page colluded, then he never met Carter Page. The guy was all over the map. He said he invented the wall, and the travel ban was his idea. I mean, come on, the guy was clearly intoxicated, and the networks ran with it like it was serious stuff. That's what I don't like.
There is, I think, with Charles Gasparino, did you guys, he said that he talked to him, right? Said he might have been drinking?
Yeah.
Not Charles.
Sam.
Juan.
You're
not drinking right now, are you, Juan?
Oh, no.
He wishes he were.
Yeah, exactly. You got my heart there. Because I'm a little puzzled by this whole conversation until Jesse said what I think is obvious. The man was subpoenaed by Robert Mueller, the special counsel, says he's not going to go before the grand jury. That's news. That's not fake news. That's reality. If I'm a journalist, I want to talk to this guy, and he wants to talk. The business about drinking, by the way, let me tell you, a lot of that was coming from the Trump White House seeking to undercut what he was saying. And so you have Aaron Burnett, I think, almost saying, well, this is being said about you by important people in Washington, in the White House. How do you respond? It does look like, as you guys describe, an injured animal, because he was saying lots of wacky stuff. The stuff that's unattractive, I think. But nonetheless, there's no question this was news, and a very important bit of news, because he was offering information from the subpoena so we could gauge what it is that Robert Mueller is looking at and, where's this investigation going, what tracks are it on. To me, this is just incredibly important. I loved it, though, when I think it was Stephen Colbert said something to the effect that what Nunberg was saying to Mueller about lock me up, you think they'll lock me up, all that. So he says that's like saying to Hannibal Lecter, eat me. Because guess what? He was irritating Mueller. He might have been angering President Trump, but he was the man with the power over him at this moment was not pleased with what happened yesterday.
Well, to me, it was basically world stop hip hop for policy wonks.
No. Remember, Susan McDougal went to jail for 18 months.
Did he say world star?
Yes.
Star.
Yeah.
Democrats hoping a blue wave can take down Ted Cruz today in Texas as the midterm election season officially begins. That's next.
Don't count on it.
The 2018 midterm election season officially underway. Texas holding the first in the nation primary today. Democrats are trying to turn the red state blue. They're turning out in force. Could it be a hint of what's to come for Republicans in November? Senator Ted Cruz is up for re-election, and he's fending off a challenge from Democrat Beto O'Rourke, who's been raking in a lot of campaign cash.
You're right. My opponent is raising a ton of money. Now, it doesn't hurt that Chuck Schumer came down to Texas and brought his liberal buddies with him, and they would love to see the state of Texas have an anti-gun, big government, pro-amnesty, liberal Democrat represented.
Well, you got a situation, Greg, where not only is Beto O'Rourke getting a lot of money, but Democrats right now are turning out in record numbers. This is twice the rate of voter turnout for Democrats, early vote, that they saw in the 2014 election.
Yeah, and I think the turnout is driven by one thing, the desire to undo a previous election. If you can get new senators and new congressmen in there, you can get impeachment, because you can't win. You can't win on the issues, because you got the two big issues, economy and foreign policy right now, and Trump is doing an excellent job. The only way you're going to get rid of the guy is by electing more people who can get rid of him. That's the way I see it, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. So, Jesse, you have a situation there in Texas, and this is whether or not, Texas might be a harbinger of things to come. Every seat, every one of the 36 congressional seats in Texas now has a Democrat challenging for it. We haven't seen this.
Yeah, the Texas Democrats are getting very organized. There's a lot of people from blue states that are moving to Texas for tax purposes. There's a lot of young Americans going to college in Texas, growing Hispanic population. And, I don't think they're going to turn it blue. I think that's a pipe dream. It's not even purple yet. Trump won it by 9. But I think Ted Cruz has a competitive race. He'll keep the seat, but the national party is going to have to spend a lot of extra money to make sure he secures that, and that's going to take money away from other more competitive Senate seats where they're looking to, get rid of a Democratic incumbent.
And Kimberly, we're a week away from a primary, or special election, I should say, in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You've got Rick, I think it's Saccone, who's the Republican, versus Connor Lamb, who's the Democrat. Saccone, a strong evangelical conservative. Lamb is a former Marine, former prosecutor like you. What do you see there?
Look, obviously an upset there would be very bad in a place that's, Trump friendly. It would be a blow to the White House, especially during this time. That the timing is not fortuitous, to have a setback and suffer a loss there. So I think it's important that they deliver and make sure that there's a positive, outcome. I think that's going to also be a little bit of a litmus test, and kind of Republicans, GOP, going to be watching that closely to see what happens. And then as it relates to Texas, I'll just offer my own answer for that, unsolicited. I think that Ted Cruz is going to win re-election. I'm just saying, this is what I think from just studying it. But nevertheless, I can't put it in for sure. But nevertheless, he's the type of guy, remember, he's green eggs and ham. He will do whatever it takes and work 24 hours to make sure that he wins re-election. I wouldn't, ever count him out.
So, Dana, you have a situation in Pennsylvania where people are saying, well, could it be that President Trump, who won the 18th district, I think by 30-plus points, has decided to start talking about tariffs because it might appeal to some of the steelworkers, union folks in the district, and therefore help the Republican?
Well, I had Rick Saccone on the show the other day, and he did say he absolutely supports that. Although there are a lot of union members in the district, and that happened to be the same week that the Supreme Court heard arguments about whether or not unions should be allowed to demand money from union members in order to then spend it on political activities, even if they don't agree with those political activities. And then it was a little bit like, well, I'm not exactly sure, because it's a tough district. The Democrats trying to win Texas reminds me of Republicans who said for years they could win Pennsylvania, and then Trump won Pennsylvania.
Right.
And I think that I don't think that Ted Cruz will lose. I do think that Democrats will pick up some of the local and state races, and that's how you build back a movement. Remember, they were decimated in the Obama years, so they are having a chance to really make their way back. The other thing I'd point out is on turnout. In Virginia's gubernatorial election last November, Ed Gillespie got more Republicans than ever in the history of that state to come out and vote for him, and he still lost by 9 points. So turnout is key.
I think it is, but I disagree with you guys. I think this is going to be a nip and tuck race for Senator Cruz, in large part because Democrats are so energized, and that's not the case on the Republican side right now. Some Democrats in Congress under fire for ties to blatant racist and anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. That's straight ahead.
To most people, I look like...
Confirmed that President Trump's top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, has just resigned. President Trump said this: Gary has been my chief economic advisor and did a superb job in driving our agenda, helping to deliver historic tax cuts and reforms and unleashing the American economy once again. He is a rare talent, and I thank him for his dedicated service to the American people. And this statement out from Mr. Cohn: it has been an honor to serve my country and enact pro-growth economic policies to benefit the American people, in particular, the passage of historic tax reform. I am grateful to the president for giving me this opportunity and wish him and the administration great success in the future. All right, Kimberly, he came from Goldman Sachs.
Correct.
And great pedigree there, very successful on Wall Street. And he was considered, what people say in the White House who didn't like him, a globalist, meaning not an American nationalist, more concerned about the world economy and not necessarily a defender of the American manufacturing base. And had a lot of internal fights with some members of the administration. And some people are now speculating that he may have resigned in the wake of President Trump's saying that he's going to enact steel tariffs. What do you think?
Okay, so I think that he's obviously a highly competent individual. He was well regarded at Goldman Sachs. I say it's fair to say that people thought that he was more of a globalist. That term has been used. I think that, he's somebody obviously that wanted to serve the country, worked very hard in there. The president liked his organization, and he would present like charts with him and like different color coded, and he liked that. So it was very organized. I like organization. Dana Perino likes organization.
Indeed.
So that, I think, is very good. If he felt that, he had kind of provided the opportunities and the help and the assistance to the president and to the country, and his work was done there, that's one thing. I mean, the president made a tweet this morning, put out a tweet that said there may be some staff changes and things coming in the future. I think this is one that was expected. There's been discussion about Cohen, McMaster's, and Chief of Staff John Kelly. So you have one of those people already now leaving, the president. I'll also note that, he's always been very close with Jared and Ivanka as well. And that was kind of like a triumvirate right there, that the three of them were together and probably coalesced on some, of the issues. He wasn't a big proponent of exiting the Paris Climate Change Accord. So that was also probably part of the reason why people would, frame him in that fashion as a globalist. But he certainly knows the economy, and he was very helpful, I think, to the president, in that regard. And now you see, well, they'll bring in some new people, because what does the President Trump do?
Always hires the best people. What's so funny, Juan?
That's hilarious. Well,
You haven't been hired.
No, thank goodness. And I ain't looking for a job at the moment. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I mean, how many people come and go in this administration, and they come and go so quickly? I mean, to me, what Kimberly said about Kushner is right forefront now, because he was seen as part of the Kushner wing of the Trump White House. And Kushner obviously is on very thin ice, having his security clearance downgraded, can't really function properly in this White House, and charges of nepotism larger than ever. Wall Street Journal telling him go back home.
Well, I think he'll probably move to the campaign side. The president's already announced his campaign, and then Ivanka will stay.
But I'm saying that seeing Gary Cohn's so widely respected on the economic side now out, it just says to me, boy, we say, oh, downplay the chaos. Oh, it's not so bad. It is chaotic in there.
Markets might not like this.
Yeah, but I think here's one thing. I think that he's been a loyal public servant in that when you said that a globalist cares more about the global economy than the American economy, I think he would say that that's not true. I think that he's resigning on principle because he cares about the American economy, and the accomplishments of this past year, especially with tax reform and the dereg piece, actually very much helped the United States economy, and just on principle decided to resign. And that's when you know you have a loyal public servant. If you feel that you have given your best advice, well, guess what? You're sorry, but you are the the president is the president. I'm only here. I can give you my best advice. And if you don't take my advice, if I feel strongly enough that it is a bad decision, then I should resign. And I think that we should welcome that. It doesn't always happen that way in Washington.
And he had a good run, Greg, on the economic side.
That he did. A typical globalist would say that, Dana. But no, the point is, I mean, if you want cheap goods for people or goods that people can afford, and you want to spread the wealth, if that makes you a globalist, then you're a globalist. I'm so tired of that phrase.
Me too.
I think the phrase it's become some kind of knee-jerk thing to say what Trump isn't. But the fact is, we're all globalists. We all are.
Like we're all dreamers?
We're all globalist dreamers. But the thing is, this really is about, I think, protectionism. And I think, he was a big proponent of free trade. Obviously, Cohen was. And the problem with populism, one day you zig, the next day you zag. It depends on what's popular, what people like. And I think, when Trump will say he's a free marketer, but then he will talk about protectionism. Then he'll say, well, I'm about fair trade. And I think Cohen was kind of hoping, he knew this was going to come up, but he was hoping it wasn't going to come up this quickly.
He was going to have a meeting tomorrow with consumers of steel products to try to change the president's mind, and that could be canceled.
Wasn't going to happen.
And one of the realities of last week was that he was supposed to have the ability to review and talk to the president before the decision. The president just did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to get to
Listen, enough of the White House drama. There's even more drama on TV. The Bachelor.
Hard
the
news.
breakup seen around the world. Guy dumped his fiancée on national TV. Everyone went crazy. KG is going to take this one.
We have Kimberly's dating tips. No one can say I mail it in. That was all the way, baby. All right, some very important advice today. How not to break up with your fiancé. Now, whatever you do, don't do it on national television. And another tip, don't propose in the first place if you're in love with someone else. How about that? Well, I present you last night's disastrous Bachelor finale.
I wanted it so bad for us. But there was something that was holding me back, and I can't go through with it. I love you so much.
I love you.
Becca, will you marry me?
Of course. So what? Do you want to be back with her?
I want to see if there's that possibility.
Are you kidding me?
Hey, are you okay?
Leave. What are you still doing here?
Ugh, the worst. Okay, Ari Leyendeck ripping Becca's heart out after blindsiding her with the news that he wants runner-up Lauren instead. Well, ABC is also under fire for televising the breakup. I mean, what is going on around here? Look at Greg. He is delighted. He's like the Bachelor's biggest fan.
Well, for one thing, the brunette, you dodged a bullet. There isn't a bigger loser than that dude. When he enters a room, the median IQ of a group drops 5%. He is the dumbest man on television. And you know what sucks about this? The only reason why he broke up with her was to go back with the blonde that he dumped before. He had to check with her first to see that she would take him back, because he wanted a backup wife. He was afraid. He was if the blonde didn't agree to go back with him, he wouldn't have broken up with this girl, because he's such a coward and a wuss and a wimp. You know this guy. You know what this guy is? He's the guy.
A coward, a wuss, and a wimp?
He's a cad. He's what you call a cad. A cad gets everything in life, so they don't want to actually make choices about life. They don't want to make a decision about what. They'd rather string people along.
You can tell
than
by
actually
the tilt
commit.
of his, you can tell by the tilt of his head.
I can't stand his voice. He's just so annoying. That's why I watch the show. Just to hate watch Airy Head.
Wait a
Second.
second. You just said that's why you watch the show.
I watch it just to throw things at that guy.
Okay, you're going very negatory for
He's an
Kimberly's
unsuitable
dating
suitor.
tips. All right, Dana.
Sorry.
Well, okay, no, but if you're Lauren, wouldn't it be best if tonight you dumped him back?
But you won't.
But she won't.
No, because he never would have done the other thing. This is all planned.
Right, Greg's been like heavy on the online Bachelor
This is a terrible
forums
way
and
to
the
try to
blogs.
find a life partner, America. It's like that's dating tip number
Well,
one.
this is a career for
Dana's
people.
advice is go in the friendly skies.
That's
Fly
right.
the friendly skies and find a husband up there. Okay, Jesse, do you know anything about this whatsoever? And I'm a little bit concerned about the similar hairstyle.
Oh my God.
Tilt your head for us.
Ari's hair was my color in the beginning of the season, and then look at it. I'm just surprised a relationship in The Bachelor didn't work out. I mean, they always work out so perfectly. I've watched every season of The Bachelor except this one.
Whoa.
And I actually miss the most dramatic season. This was the most dramatic season.
They say that every time.
This guy was a tool. He never should have been cast as the main guy.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did, but I'm going to tune in tonight. I'm going to DVR Hannity.
Late
and then I'm going to watch
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Juan, what do you think of this fiasco?
Will Jesse marry Hannity? No, I don't know, because I think
Trump picks the best people.
That's true. But Tucker may come back from vacation for this. I don't know. I got to say, I've never watched a minute of it. I think this is tawdry, and I'm so sorry if he hurt that young woman's feelings, because that's a pretty serious thing to do. And the idea that you televise it, well, I guess that's what this is reality TV. We want to see someone in pain and weeping, but boy, I tell you, I think you could go read a comic.
What would you have done to him, KG?
Yeah, see, I would have my handy pen ready,
that's
and
true.
before he could get a word out, you just right there. I just want to save America.
No, the point is, he deserved some kind of punishment that he got away with.
Yeah,
he's going to get that tonight.
I think that's
You think he's going to get punished?
Well,
the whole crowd hates him, and both girls, I'm not so sure, happy, and the host hates him.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bloodbath tonight. It's going to be like Nunberg all over again.
But make sure you watch Hannity.
But watch Hannity.
The producers, this is a dream for them, though.
This is a great show.
ABC's loving it. Everybody's going to watch it. He's like kind of the villain that everybody now is going to love to hate.
She's a hero. Becca will be a hero.
Right. And he's going to be on like Dancing with the Stars next or something. It'll be
what
some
if
whole
someone did this to
situation. Impossible. El fin. Okay. One more thing is up next.
Whoa, did you guys see that? So that's a close-up shot of a bald eagle swooping down and scooping up its prey. Oh, look at that. God, I love this country. And I'm going to be on Hannity tonight at 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's why you want us to watch it.
Well, you didn't get that.
Actually, DVR The Bachelor and watch Hannity live.
Yeah, because it's
I don't know why you said
you and the other
that.
Jesse?
Yeah, Jess and Jess.
Oh, my gosh.
Carlisle.
That's
Kimberly.
right.
All right, come on now. Kimberly's Food Court. Yes. Perfect. Lots of animation today, folks. So, everyone's excited about this because it's Oreos, baby. And this is National Oreo Day. Why are there all these weird... Oh, okay. That was going by so fast. Okay, so Jesse's going to partake in this. He loves Oreo. So in honor of this momentous occasion, Oreo is giving away 1 million free Oreo chocolate candy bars today. I don't have one, but whatever. The first 1 million people who sign up on their website will get this. Don't ooh it, Greg.
Candy bar, Oreo candy bar? No.
And this was created in 1912 by the National Biscuit Company, Nabisco. Yum, yum, yum. And by the way, in Chelsea Market in Manhattan. How about that?
Oh, that's right. I did hear about that.
500 billion Oreos have been sold.
Where they used to tape Oz.
Look
You
at
prefer
Jessica.
a double
Do you
stuff?
pull it across, like open?
And then lick it off. There you go.
Talk about love.
Prisons was.
Love it. All right, that was Kimberly.
Did you say
So
that was for the
Juan
prison
is
boys?
next.
All right. So you might have seen this image last week. It went viral in every way. That's 2-year-old Parker Curry staring at former First Lady Michelle Obama's official portrait at the National Portrait Gallery in D.C. Michelle Obama, so taken with this picture, she invited the young woman to her office for a meeting, and that's when a dance party broke out.
Shake it off, 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 shake it off.
That little girl didn't know that Michelle Obama had been First Lady. Her mom said she thought she was looking at a queen. Little Miss Curry looked like a queen herself as she danced to Shake It Off.
She is the cutest, cutest, cutest. Look at that. I love
Isn't that fun when you can bring joy to a little
All right, let's get to the my important.
Okay.
I am the cutest. Let's do this.
Shake it off.
Greg's I have a lot of free time to do stuff news. Well, this is where I focus on somebody with a lot of free time to do stuff. Like this guy, he's the host of Action Lab. Take a look at what he did. He was able to build a perfect circle out of Pringles without using any glue at all, just employing the basic physics, which is a science of stacking that he loves. And that's what he's doing. You notice he's
No, you said you had the best one more thing, and I'm going to have to agree.
That is pretty amazing.
Oh, you don't like the American Eagle?
What about my Oreo segment? I don't understand.
I wanted American.
Globalist.
I wanted American eagle to fly into the Pringles Ringle, as they call it. It's the Pringle Ringle, as it's called. But that's from the Action Lab.
Do you have anything else today for one more thing?
No, is yours really that bad? Man, you're like trying to stretch it out. It's about Bill Hemmer.
Stall tactic.
Okay, so you know there's going to be a storm tonight, right?
Yes.
The little nor'easter. Well, we're not the only ones trying to stay warm. Check out this creativity in New York. Somebody decided to crochet some sweaters for the trees.
Wow.
In case they get cold. And so
That's crazy.
the city was going to come and take them all down because it's a violation.
And it is.
Okay, but guess what?
No.
The business owners came outside and said this helps bring customers. And so if you want to decorate a tree, you can do it, but you have to get a tree work permit.
The tree doesn't have a choice in this. That's treeist.